What's up, everyone? It's me, Nina, again, this time with another Karma Marketing content feature with this month's theme focusing on discipline of inquiry. So, for this month, we really want to try and highlight discipline as a structure and consistency that we all need to build a solid foundation. And I know a lot of people really think about discipline in terms of consistency, but we kind of want to take another narrative onto it and focus on how, yes, it is essential to have consistency, but it's also essential to add some flexibility into the process. And specifically, with adding flexibility, we also try not to get too attached to the result. So, this is the journey to true discipline by highlighting structure and also flexibility and finding the balance in between. Now, I'm super excited to have a special guest from Malaysia. Today, we have here Munyee Lau, and I'll have her say hello to the community and also introduce herself. So, Munyee, go ahead and say hi.
Hi, everyone. Really appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak to Nina, and of course, my proxy to everybody who is tuning in. My name is Munyee, and I'm from Malaysia. And I have built my career from content, and it all started through blogging, right? I'm telling my age, but I started from blogging, and that's where my love to just express myself started with words. But as I got older, I realized that there are so many mediums to express myself. And then that's when I started going into content marketing. And that's what you imagine the things that I would do is social media, shooting videos and writing articles. And from there, I've discovered that I love to not only make content, but also work with people that cares deeply about content. So in the past years or so, I think my career has pivoted to more of a marketing role where I manage and I work with teams of very young, talented content creators to do what I used to do and what I still love to do, which is content. And that is like a quick summary of what I've been up to for the past.
Right. So we will get into our topic for this month, which is balancing structure and flexibility and discipline. And, hearing you talk about working with different clients, working with different content creators, allotting a lot of time and energy into these different people and maybe even like different businesses, how do you find balance in that? How do you balance discipline and also find some flexibility in that kind of routine?
Yep. Yep. Thanks for that, Nina. I think when we hear the word discipline, I think there's immediately like let's just say like your head, let's pop like structure, like strict, being rigid, right? And discipline is also associated quite negatively with punishment, almost like in a way. But I think discipline to me means that there is a core that you hold very close to, and this could be habits, or this could be principles, and this could be beliefs, right? And that to me is discipline. And when you are you play so many different roles in your life. Like you're an employee, you're probably someone's partner in life, or you're a mom, or all those great things. So it's easy to get swayed by the demands of your stakeholders at work, different clients, different like internal clients, your internal team. Everybody wants to have a piece of you. So for me, that discipline is knowing that, hey, I have a set of core values and I have a set of principles. And these principles are in a way fluid. So it's within this space where I'm holding on to my core beliefs, these are also open to changes, which may be in a different season of my life. So what I'm trying to say is like when life demands different parts of you or different aspects of you, demands that you wear different hats, you must hold on to the things that anchor you, right? But in this anchoring, you also are open to letting it float or letting it like I always say I like to like freestyle it or riff it, right? Because I think this yeah, for me is the money that you are talking to right now is probably very different from the money from 25, like when I was 25, and the money that 5 years down the road were very different. And I think allowing myself to allow my anchor to change, allow my anchor to be fluid, keeps me anchored. As contradictory as that sounds, I think that that has made decision making a lot easier because I know that I'm firm in who I am, but I'm also open to changing when the need arises.
Yeah, I think that's where true discipline comes as well when you're able to empathize and also know your limits. And limits is not necessarily to say that, you can't do it. It's just understanding that you have your own pace and you don't have to, force yourself to really reach that end goal in the most ideal way or in the way that other people say, the way that even you expect things to do. And I think this is quite soundly with the next question, which is talking about, we talked about flexibility, um, which is what is it? How do we adjust or like how do we become flexible? But the next question is talking about when people are too attached to results, when people are not as flexible. So can you share an experience where you were focusing too much on the end result and did that hinder your process?
Yeah. I started, I think the best, some of the highlights of my career was when I was running MGAG, which was a content creation platform. Started in Malaysia. And our goal, in essence, was to work with brands and create really fun content through any medium possible, either through a skit or through sort of written articles just to promote a product or service. So a lot of our work is creative. And with creative work, it's really hard to quantify it sometimes because it is a gut feel or it's a sixth sense or it's like a feeling, right? There was certain instances where the client had certain ask. They want to sell more burgers or they want people to consider their service above the competitors. And there were instances where when we were sitting together in a room and we were brainstorming where we became, or rather I became so obsessed with, hey, let's make the client happy. Hey, let's please them. Let's hit their KPI. And in the process of doing that, when my team were giving ideas, because we were brainstorming together, I would shut people down because I'm like, hey, no lah, that doesn't hit our goals. That doesn't fulfill the brief, And because I am also naturally really loud, sometimes I become very abrasive because to me it's like, hey, it's very clear that you need to be looking at this, right? How come you're not focused? Like, why are you giving me these kind of ideas? And that caused the team to shut down. Like they'll be like, okay, clearly you seem to know best, so you do it then. All right, a little bit of that. And that spiraled into something a lot bigger. People became resentful. I felt like they were unresponsive. And the result of that was the ideas were so bad. The ideas were so, had no heart in it, right? Because all they want to do was, let's just do something that hits the brief, like what Munyee said. Munyee wants us to hit the brief, we'll hit the brief. Who cares if it's not creative? Who cares if it's overdone, right? And in the end, give to the client, we shot it, we produced it, and the results flopped. And the client was upset. So what I tried so hard, which is to retain the client by giving them everything that they wanted, resulted in me losing the client.
Oh,
right.
no.
Yeah, I was so obsessed, and I look back and go like, why was I obsessed? Maybe because I want to pay the bills. I want to run a company. It's a big client. It's an established brand in the market. If I get down my portfolio, I could then open more doors to more money, to more whatever, right? I think the intention was fine. I think the intention was right. And I think my team understood where I came from. But the journey or the way that I did it, which was being abrasive or being unkind or being like just bulldozing my way, because I kind of do because I'm so convicted, right? I could be so convicted that even if I'm wrong, I can convince you that I'm right. Right? That's how convicted I am. So yeah, and we sit down and we do postmortems and we go like, hey, what happened? Like, why did this client pay us like a lot of money for the project, told us like, hey, like we'll never come back because it doesn't work out, So and they said, oh, because you keep shutting us down. You keep telling us, don't forget, what are we here for? Don't forget we want to sell the burger. Don't forget we want to do this, etc. So you forget that our strength, which is my team strength, is that we should come up with amazing, creative, out of the box ideas to share about that product that in the end eventually will then help the brand hit their sales targets. So, and the feedback to me was also, hey, the way that you talk to us, like on your way to your destination, you just ran everybody over. Right? It's like, I don't care who dies along the way, as long as I get there. And when you reach there, you're alone with a trail of like, people hate you, right?
Yeah.
So I take that and I always remember those moments because they were really rough, right? Like for your team to tell you, hey, you are rude or you're abrasive or you're so mean, like you shut us down, like we mean nothing to you. Um, I've learned now that the mouth, right, the words are so powerful. Like I could lift you up, I could care about you, but I could shut you down. It's the same orifice. It's the same place, and it's the same tongue that does these things. So I have then realized that the results are important, but it's more important to understand that you can get there in different ways, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, nothing wrong with wanting it. I want to tell everybody, like, I'm not asking you to like screw your clients. Who cares about KPIs? Like let's be real. Like we're employees, right? With the
So
job.
funny. Yeah.
You can't do that. You can't flip the table and say, I don't want this because you need this. Maybe you need this to pay the bill. Maybe you need this to retain the client. That's fine. But there are so many ways to get there. And there are ways that doesn't result in you losing focus on what really matters, which is maybe team dynamics, maybe encouraging ideas from the quietest person in the room, for example, or finding like, hey, the goal is to sell a burger. Maybe 20 different ways have been thought, but have we thought about this one, which we never did? But in this environment of safety and trust, this great idea came up.
I think it's great that your team was able to communicate it to you, like, to be that
It was
honest.
so rough. Like I tell you, like every doo-doo has hit the fan. And it was so bad. Like it was so bad. And I think we had an intervention from HQ. Like I make it sound like they could talk to me, but they realized that a fundamental issue that they realized also is personalities, right? Like I'm very different from you, definitely. I'm very different from the team. And because of my extroversion, because of how I am as a person, I make it very difficult for quieter people or people who are not as driven outwardly to
Vocal, probably.
yeah, like, hey, like that doesn't really make sense. And I have I'm a lot more mature now, and I've learned to say, hey, I'm going to stop talking right now. What do you think? And that took a lot of effort. Like that takes me changing my beliefs, which is I'm always right. Like going back to what we talked about, like because I believe so strongly, like I know it. I know it in the core of myself. I know that this will work, but I still have to go like, hey, Nina, if you think otherwise, I'ma hear it. And if
Yeah.
you are right, and if you're convicted and you have the data and everything to support you, I'm willing to throw that gut feeling out a window because I think you got this time. So that was a journey. Like we talk about this in 2 minutes, but it was months, years of just saying, I could be wrong. Like, oh my God, that's so hard to say. Like,
I think I resonate a lot with you just because I wouldn't say I'm like rigid as a person, but I really have fixed routines. I can't block everything. I know my way around things. And then also, honestly, like it takes a lot in me as well to have to entertain other people's way on how they do things just because this is the proven way that I do things. I know it works. And I think that's honestly a good example to put out, like you can always be consistent within yourself. It's quite easy to build your own routines, to know your values, but having to work with other people's kinds of routines, how they do things, their own values as well. I think that's where flexibility comes in. And it's a skill. Like, people aren't naturally flexible. You have to build that experience. You have to train yourself as well, but also learn to trust other people and also trust yourself that you'll be fine by trusting other people too.
yeah. And
So,
that once you get the realization of that you are, you have strengths and weaknesses, and somebody else who could be a complete opposite is actually covering all your weaknesses with their strength. So
yeah.
taking their feedback and their point of view is not a loss to you. It's actually an added value. But at the moment, oh my God, it's tough, it's rough. Like,
I
the
know.
want to, right? But I'm not building a team of money. This is not a fraternity, but I've learned to take the person, which I think in real life, outside of work, maybe we would never hang out because maybe
Yeah.
that person is systematic. Maybe the person could excel me out, right? Like the person could be amazing at numbers and all that. And I probably wouldn't hang out with them, but they add so much value. And if I could look back, some of the best teammates I've ever had in my careers are people who initially I was like, yo, I don't like them. They're like, they're so boring or they're so like bitch. They're like I never time block anything, right? But having maybe someone like you, hey man, you can now stop talking, let's go to the next thing. It's so important because girl, like, I could go on and on and on. And this is where I've learned to take the opposites of me and work with that. And I tell you, we keep adding to each other. We just get better and better and better. And that is what a team really is about, right?
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I love how you put, I mean, I love how you mentioned adding value, like finding people who add value to your life. Like, would you say that helps motivate you maintain your discipline, both in personal and professional?
I think like this is where it's easy to get distracted. I'm like, I have the attention span of like a goldfish, right? So maintaining discipline is always a challenge just because I get bored quite quickly. Like I would look at a new project and I'll move on to the next shiny thing and I will miss on the little things. So what I do in order to sort of maintain this, I always come back, like I go off and I come back, is that I want to remember what am I doing this for? And those goals are really big. Like it's your BHAG, your big hairy audacious goal. Or I used to set goals such as become a manager in 2 years, for example. And I still remember those moments, like right when you're at the cusp of achieving what you wanted, you realize that no big deal, right? So I learned to make bigger goals. So like for example, I'm working now in time, right? Like I lead the social team here. And I asked myself, like, what sort of goals do I want to set for myself in 2024? We were already like, what? Bada bing, bada boom. We're like halfway through, right? And I used to set goals, get 4 out of 5 or get the star awards or whatever it is, right? And get money and whatever. But I learned to set goals such as work until you can buy time to spend with, in my case, my dog, because I love my dog, right? So it's like I work until you can buy time for yourself. And buy time could translate to, for example, outsourcing stuff, getting on the Gojek, Grab, like Grab everywhere, right? So my goal has become a lot more bigger than just what is in front of me, which is the current career that I have. Because I think it's why I wanted a bigger why or a bigger B hack is because things happen at work where it's a bummer, right? Like, whatever difficult stakeholders, life sucks, like jam and all that. If I attach a lot of hope and value on a goal that is bound by this reality, I think I'll be disappointed every day because people let you down. I let myself down. So what motivates me to wake up in the morning, turn off the alarm, and not roll over and go back to sleep, other than my loans and my car loan and my house loan and my bills, is that I tell myself that there is an end goal to this, which is coming to work here helps me to build the team that I love, right? Helps me to, sorry. Oh, sure. Sorry. Yep.
No worries.
Yep.
Thank you.
Guess it's here. Cut that part out, right? Yep.
No worries.
Yeah. So as I was saying, so working here, in doing content is not the end goal, but instead I get to come here and I have a team of like 4 people that I care deeply about, and they're at the age and a point of their lives where they are looking for a manager that can bring it to the next level, and that really motivates me because I care deeply about young people. I care deeply about helping them achieve their fullest potential. So if I come here and I'm helping them, but I have a job too, right, which is my day job. If I can help them achieve their full potential, I feel like I've achieved that bigger goal. So that motivates me to come to work and motivates me to obviously stay disciplined, which is I wake up and do my work and etc. And that is so important to me because I think if not, I don't know, man. Like who wants to be stuck in traffic for an hour and a half? Nobody. Nobody
Go to the office.
Yeah, to go to the office when you could work. So some for here, like we don't really work from home. We only have one day off for working from home. So it's rough. It's really rough because you're like, man, I'm here again. Like it's 4:30 and I'm stuck in traffic. There are idiots on the road. It's
Yeah.
why? I could be a sandwich. I could be a snail, right? And I don't have to worry about it. I'll be a tree, but I'm a salaried employee. So I need to have a bigger why. And that to me is, at this current point, for example, it's the team, right? The team that helps me be a better version of me and work on the things that I really care about.
Yeah, and I think as well, like having a bigger why kind of it it increases your list of things to be grateful about or just ways to, like keep yourself grounded too. Because I think it's like, one example is like, example, when you're a creative, the best for you to get more creativity is to do something outside of your creative, right? So it's kind of like steering yourself to another thing to anticipate yourself for. And I think it's good, like to understand your bigger why
Yeah.
so that you can kind of align your efforts there. So do you have like an example where you're trying to maintain your discipline, you understood your why and how they aligned in terms of like building that purpose and also maintaining discipline into that situation?
Yeah. Great question, right? I discovering that I wanted to work with young people is not something that happened sort of overnight. One of the very like those core memory if you watch Inside Out, like core memory, a bad core memory is like my very first intern. When I was working, I was a horrible manager. I think I was micromanaging. Like I didn't know what to do. So you know how humans react by if they're afraid, they will just hold on tighter, and that's how micromanagement works, right? So I remember he resigned, and it was very traumatic. He sort of like threw his name cards and threw his keys back at me and said, "You're the worst
Oh
man
my
I've
god.
ever had," right? I'm not justifying him. Like, we worked it out. He apologized. He said he was 17, so it's fine. But I think that shook me, right? Because I was like, I'm a bad manager. And I might not be the worst because I've worked, but then a couple of years in other places, and I've had worse managers who ask you to pick up trash or work OT and not pay you and abuse you mentally. Like, and I keep telling myself, I thought it was pretty good. I remember the conviction that I had. I was like, God damn, like if I'm bad, then those must be horrific. Like I should call the cops on them, right? But I was still not in my head good enough. So the motivation for that was to be like better than what I was, to be a better manager. And that means learning, like being more emotionally intelligent and etc. So um I started then realizing that I want to be a better manager because when I was younger, I didn't have a good manager. And I ended up being in a lot of situations where I I was sort of compromised in so many ways because my manager didn't fight for me or my manager didn't think about my career, right? So eventually that led to my conviction of, you know what? As long as I'm working or as long as I want to give back in this sense, I want to be a great mentor. I want to be a great, if in this workspace, work context is to be a great manager. That's why I want to be a great leader because I want these young people, and I'm going younger and younger. I'm like, I think my interns are like 23 now, like 22. They're like, babies, yeah. So I thought if I could be a great checkpoint for them, right, which is a great manager for like 3 years, however long, they could then go on to be then creative managers. And it's like an MLM thing, right? I will eventually, yeah, have a whole bunch of great managers because then more and more young people will never be subjected to the same things that one, I subjected my intern to, the first intern, or that when I was an intern or when I was first starting out and all googly eyes in the working world, that I was subjected to those things. So those are these sort of like transition, right? And me knowing that was a journey of going like, okay, if in any case the work that I choose has to hit back to this goal. Like it cannot run away. Like that is a core belief that I cannot ship, which is I need to help people fulfill their full potential. So when I was choosing my careers, and if you look at my LinkedIn, like I disappoint my parents because I jump jobs every 3 years. But I wanted to choose careers or opportunities that allow me to go back to this goal, to this why of mine, right? And I have made mistakes where I joined companies where I was a solo contributor. I had no team. And every day I will go to work and I'm like, why am I so unhappy? Like there's just like a gut, like if something's off, like when you're not feeling well, you feel a bit of like a itch or whatever, like a tickling.
Yeah.
It was that itch, but it was in the soul, right? Or whatever I call it, like in your spirit, right? You come to work, you're like, man, I'm so demotivated. Like, what's wrong? Like the money is good, it's close to home, like all the check boxes, right? Why am I so unhappy? And I realized that I was too far from the
Yep.
why.
Yeah.
My purpose. And it's calling me and making me upset, making me lazy, making me demotivated because I'm no longer building the core memories or the sort of the foundation to get to where I want to be, which is the ultimate goal of helping as many people as possible achieve their full potential. And your gut will tell you if you listen to it, like there must be a reason why you hate your job, right? If it's just telling you, hey, maybe this is not where it's supposed to be. And I always talk to the inner voice, the inner why, and ask them, is this still right? Because I've had like the past couple of weeks, like retest my 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 beliefs, right? Because things are really
Right.
challenging at work, and I'm asking myself, is it still worth it? Am I still heading in that direction? Because the moment it's off, and this is where boundaries come in, right? I would say, and this is that the discipline of the moment it's off, and the moment I go to off a tangent that which I would never come back to where I want to be, then this is not the right decision to make. Right? This is the place to be. And this applies to everything: relationships, work, um, beliefs, things like hobbies, even, right? As long as it's off, then it's off, right? It's so simple. It's a lot simpler to approach life that way.
You brought up setting boundaries, right? Like, trusting yourself when things are within or like aligned with what you want to achieve. And sometimes when it doesn't align, you set your
Yeah.
boundaries.
Yeah.
Are there any other ways that you cope, whether like setbacks or maybe like unexpected changes to things that are not aligned with what you want to do, general?
Yeah. So just to clarify, I'm not like people listening to this, please don't jump companies the moment someone pisses you off. But uh, I've learned like a recent lesson, like practically that I learned is that, sometimes you just shouldn't care so much about what somebody says because they are maybe abrasive or whatever, right? So the lesson that I learned instead of just quitting and throwing a letter is that maybe I shouldn't attach so much value or weight to this person's words because they really don't mean it that.
But if there's anything that you would consider to be a really crucial or maybe the most important advice that you can give to anyone that's listening and is trying to also find that flexibility in building structure, but also allowing themselves to be flexible in their discipline, what would it be?
Wow. I always know that this is a really challenging question, right? Like your last blur. Um, in our pursuit of building discipline and establishing the core beliefs that will really bring us through life and allowing us to play all the roles that we need to play uh happily and successfully in every definition. It is important to sort of think that what if I cannot make any wrong decision, right? I was like, oh, so the rest, like me just saying it, I'm so shocked right now. But the thing is, what if every decision that you make leads to a better one? So in that definition, there is no wrong decisions, right? Because I can't tell you how many times I sat here and beat myself up over like maybe I shouldn't leave that guy. Maybe I should have married him instead. Maybe I should have did a different degree. Maybe I should have not quit this job. Maybe I should have taken this job. There's so many what ifs. And in that sense, I'm trying to challenge my that train of thought to say, what if all the decisions that I make, it's all leads to the place I'm intended to be. So for some of us who are religious or believe in spirituality, you can say that it's a higher power moving my hand, it's not my hand, right? But if you don't believe in spirituality, which is all like fun and jazz too, but it's about what if everything that I do is a good thing? What if everything that I say and every decision I make and every person that and every situation that I've left is so that I could be in a better place? Approaching that one makes your life a lot more less anxious. All right. You are less likely to beat yourself up over that decision that you made 6 years ago, all right, where you should have talked to that guy in the bar. But it's kinder to yourself. It makes you also be more present in your reality because you say, hey, I've decided this. It's such a good thing. But I'm going to really enjoy it while I'm here because I know that this is exactly where I'm meant to be. I'm trying. I still remind myself that exactly in this space, talking to you, for example, this reality is exactly where I have to be. And something great will come out of it because there is no better decision than this current decision. And then the same mentality.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I super love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like some days it's hard to believe, but what if you are never wrong? And I want to circle back to the very first thing that I said when I told you that my convictions that I'm never wrong, right? And
Just throws you back.
yeah. And coming back here to this is like, what if you are never wrong? What if you don't make mistakes? And it's not a boastful thing. It shouldn't come from pride. It should come from I know I'm resilient enough. I know that I have the strength. I know I have the tools and the support system that wherever I am and whatever decision I make, I will make the best out of it. And I think that kind of mindset means that one, I didn't change since I was 14. Luckily, it's also, I think, like where I am right now, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna pick the best of it. And I'm gonna really enjoy the view while I'm here because the next place is gonna be better, but it's not gonna be this view.
I am so amazed with the way you're able to just come up with everything and just the way you gave out that advice is honestly such a perfect way to end this content feature. So Munyee, I just want to say thank you so much for
You,
sharing your own story, your
you.
own wisdom, and even just your beautiful your beautiful lessons and insights. I'm pretty sure anyone that's listening has had such a great time and even just very inspired from your own story. So, to anyone that's listening right now, I hope you guys tune in to our next month feature. But for now, peace and love, Karma Marketing.